So what kind of effect to the characteristic itself? So when the producer, he intend to do some special characteristic,
Yep.
and what is the main concern to produce? What kind of skill? What kind of material are they going to use? For example, yeast, or water, or
Yep.
barley, or your whole production
Yep.
skill. So whichever.
All of them. The answer, Sammy, is all of them. So every single variable within your production chain has a marked impact on the output of your whiskey. So if you start from the top, barley, okay? A lot of people are using either concerto or moving over to laureate. It's the most common barley. How you process that barley is going to affect the properties and the flavors that you get from that barley. Equally, there are some distilleries out there using heritage strains of barley. All of these things, the inputs, the ingredients, so the barley and the yeast, how it ferments, the flavors that you develop in those early stages, that's all going to help form the character of that whiskey and to change it, some subtly, some dramatically. Water is an interesting one. There are different opinions on it. I believe that water is fundamental for having the mineralistic character to help with fermentation, which creates flavor. But I don't believe that the flavor of water affects the flavor of whiskey, at least not in the production sense. Obviously, when you've got your dram in front of you and you've got some water, having some perfectly pure water compared to just tap water, when you add it yourself, that makes a difference. But in terms of adding into the mash, adding into the production, I personally don't believe that the flavor of water is important, but it's minerality. What it's got inside of it is part of the process. When you move into the distillery, everything about the shape and size of your equipment, not just your stills, but your mash tun, how deep is it, how wide is it? Your fermenters, how deep are they, how wide are they? Everything about the volumetric capacity and the size and shape of your plant affects what flavors you're going to develop. If you have a mash tun that is wide and low compared to one that is short and tall, that will create something different. Again, when you move on to distillation, which is what people think, oh, that's where you define the spirit. Yes, but a lot of those characters have already been preset with your mashing and your fermentation and the ingredients you're using. Think of distillation effectively as reinforcing the flavors that you create in fermentation. Then again, you've got your human interaction. So how long do you ferment for? That's a human decision. At Bimba in London, so we ferment for 7 days. 4 of those are on your yeast. After the 4th day, the yeast is dormant. It's not doing anything. But by leaving it there longer, we get a malolactic fermentation from the wild yeast in the air and the bacteria in those washbacks. So something is still happening, and that's a decision we make. Then you come on to spirit cuts. When you take the heads, the hearts, and the tails of the spirit, that is a human interaction. You're deciding what part of that spirit to take. Everyone always talks about you only want the heart of the spirit. Sure, you do. But then how much you dig into the bottom part of that cut, otherwise known as the feints, that brings with it quite a lot of character and texture. So one wouldn't always say that your middle cut is just always here for every distillery. It's not. There's always a little bit of a wobble that's possible there.
The move.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a move, and that is a human decision to make that move, to define how that affects the spirit and how it falls into the other part of the process. But yeah, in conclusion, every single thing from all of your inputs to all of your plant, to all of your human interactions will all affect the eventual whiskey that you're going to produce.